Greetings, this is Doug, the Eclipse Whisperer, and here we are again with another fine video on our favorite software, Epicor Eclipse. Yeah, this is of course the second go-round of this because, hey, anything worth doing once is worth doing twice. Thank you, meowing cats, cell phones, me losing my place in things, my VPN connection dropping off, and jet engines flying overhead. Let's see if we can get this shorter and sweeter than the other version was. Anyway, so I've tried to do videos in the past about sales order entry, and the problem with sales order entry is everything around Eclipse culminates in the sales order entry screen. There are so many complexities to it that you could probably spend weeks talking about it. In fact, I have, and God help you. So we're going to try and do this as a series of shorter videos that are more concise, and see if we can block it off in chunks so that everyone doesn't slip into a coma or want to gnaw off their own legs. So, sales order entry. We are going to start off at the simplest place to start, which is a sales order in the Solar interface, as you can see here. This is going to be a simple face-to-face customer counter order on a stocked item to a cash COD customer. All right, looking at our user interface, please keep in mind when you're looking at these videos and the different screens I've recorded, your system may not look like my system. There are so many different ways of customizing it, and so this is going to be an approximation. Your desktop may have more widgets. That's these little things here, which can be added and customized at will as a quick shortcut into different parts of the system. You may have different menus. Even when you're seeing screens that I put up, most of the time the parameters will be the same, but depending on what job that you normally have, who you're logged in as with what account, you may have a different set of authorizations. And there are certain things that you'll see me do that you may not be able to do because you're not authorized in your system. So please keep some of that in mind. We're going to try and keep it bare bones and simple, and I'll explain the few gotchas that I can think of as we go, but please understand. Your mileage may vary. Okay, so I believe most people using the Solar interface are going to have widgets for quick sales order entry, and these can be customized to do some particularly interesting things. It makes it a little easier to get in the sales order entry screen. We will have a video that covers that later. We're going to do the old-fashioned way. So we're going to go into the main menu under orders and go to sales order entry. Okay, on our initial order entry screen, if there was an existing order or bid, you could put in that number now. Sales orders, of course, will start with an S and whatever number of digits. You can see here from this information, it's identifying a sales source and a location. This is defined by the terminal ID that is set in your software when you go to log in, and what locations you're authorized to log in at. Required date and ship date will normally be, since this is a counter order, will be the same day. Sometimes a ship date will change to something different if it's going to be shipped out at a different time than today. But we're going to leave all that blank. If there's not an existing order that you're trying to edit, then you would go ahead and put in the customer name here, and hopefully they will have a customer account. Since this is a counter order, most companies like to do shortcuts, and they'll come up with a kind of generic account just for a we don't know who guy that we'll never meet again that walks in to order something, and we're gonna charge him the retail price plus tax, that type of thing, and I'll have something like cash customer or counter customer or whatever. In the case of the company that I'm using an example here right now, our over-the-counter account is that, but that's not what we're going to use in this case. I would like to point out at this that I do not like the idea of a generic, Joe Podunkus walk-in counter customer. I think that's lazy and stupid, and it will come bite you in the ass later on. If you sold it one day and next week and he comes back and he wants a credit and that type of thing, it can really foul up the process of trying to track down what happened. It skews all of your sales and performance numbers, and it also limits your ability to maybe make a longer term relationship with this potential customer because you didn't record any of his information. When creating a new customer account, if he doesn't have an account already, is dead simple. You see here this little button says new customer. You literally click on that and you will create a new customer. All you need is a telephone number, a name, an address, basic stuff, and it will create. It's a bare bones customer account. It will be a COD customer that's taxed and all that good stuff, but it's a start, and then you can track this guy's transactions and build a deeper relationship. This literally takes seconds. Everyone decides they want to be lazy and not use it. Aggravates the piss out of me. Anyway, rant aside. So, I have set up in this particular system a whole series of test customers and test vendors and test users and test products. I have my own naming that I use on these, so it's very easy to find in reports or in other places in the system these things and be able to identify quickly that these are test simulations, so that it doesn't pollute the accounting and get scrambled with all the valid transactions. In this case, everything that I create starts with the letter Z, which means it'll always show up in the end of almost all the reports I run. So I will go ahead and enter in my test customer account. I have the index on them as, whoops, not Zcust. Can't type right now. Okay, and I have two accounts that have that index on them. Index is a keyword search. You can have multiple records that have like the same keyword and they'll show up on the same list. So two accounts. One is a cash on delivery customer, which means if he tries to sprint for the door, you grab him because he's not allowed to leave unless he pays. Or credit customer, got a line of credit, and at the end of the month we send an invoice to their shop and they write us a check once a month. In this case, we're going to do the COD. All right, order selection. This allows us to search for existing orders or to create a new one. There is often an AR down below this, and if there are existing orders that have not been paid or are in somewhere in the AR process, that's a shorter list to go through there. So in this case, we're just going to go ahead and select new because we're going to create a new order. Okay, required ship date's going to get filled in automatically with today's date. And now we do OK. Here is the sales order entry application, and there's an awful lot of stuff going on in here, and it's actually a credit to Eclipse. They found a very as clean as you could get off with a way of displaying a bunch of complex information in about as neat a way as you possibly can. Keep in mind that Eclipse was the next evolution from a program called Shims. If any old timers out there have seen the original Shims order entry application, God, this is a vast improvement. I realize that by 2023 standards, this is pretty ancient looking, and it is, because keep in mind that the Solar interface came out in like 2004 or so. Eclipse itself was written and released in around 1988, so this is ancient technology, but still pretty well planned. So, there are 5 different sections to sales order entry. When you first log in, it will pop you into what's known as the body. You can see several tabs here: body, header, total, status, detail, scheduling. Body is where you enter in the products and adjust the pricing. Header is where you tweak the customer information, the shipping information, some of the taxation, and other minor details. Total is where you go ahead and accept payments. Status is where you set the how is it going to be delivered, or where is it going to end up, and when, to some degrees, or by what method. Detail scheduling that's the very last thing we're going to deal with, and not in today's video in this case. Detailed scheduling allows you to, if you were going to have multiple products on the order, schedule the delivery of groups of projects. So they may not all show up at the same time for whatever reasons. Or some might be put on back order. Okay, we got a little warning down here, cash or COD only. That's of course flagged to this customer. We have a status of P, which is, since this is a counter order defined by the terminal ID, the terminal that we logged in at, which is a counter terminal, it's set to that this is a pickup now. That means we're handing it to the customer, and that's what the P is stand for. Your system may be set up differently. It is not unusual to have, if you log into a different location like the office, it may automatically put you in bid mode. The difference between bid mode and the other modes generally is bid mode doesn't commit stock. That allows you to put in counts and quantities and tweak prices until you finally get a negotiation settled out of the customer. He says, yeah, okay, go ahead and order the damn thing. And then you flip it into an order. When you do an order, the stock is committed to an order, which means it can't be sold anywhere else. When it's in bid mode, there's no stock committed to the order. You're still tweaking it. So that's the big difference between the two. There are a variety of views. You see these different fields that are on this screen. The system is not limited to just those views. This is just the default view that our system has been configured for, and it works pretty well for the most uses. But depending on what you're doing, or depending on who you are, you may have a different set of views. You may have a different set of views available. You're not confined to just this view. This is just the default view our system is programmed to come to. If you click over here to the magnifying glass, you will see a whole listing of different views that are available for me to operate in when I'm doing this order. Maybe I'm tweaking pricing, so all of the pricing information is what I particularly am interested to. Maybe I'm trying to figure out how the pricing matrix is working because I'm auditing the pricing. How come this customer is getting this part at this price? This looks wrong. I would use this to try and untangle that. And that's what these are. Your list may be different. It once again depends on authorization keys and how your system has been programmed. But you are not confined ordinarily to just one view like this. Your menu bar up here might be different because each system can have their menus customizable, I believe, on a user-by-user case. A lot of the things in the Solar interface can be customized for each particular user. So you can have two salesmen that have completely different looking user interfaces depending on their work style. Once again, depending on their authorization keys, what the people who administer your system allow you to do. Before we go ahead and enter a product, we want to go to the header information. Quite often this is ordinary that you have to tweak a couple of things in the header before you start adding items. So we'll go ahead here to header. Once again, this is going to show us our order number down here, what branch we're operating out of. We want to, of course, make sure that we logged into the right branch. Nothing worse than walking into the wrong branch and working in the wrong place. So there is a lot of information here, as you can see. The things that you most commonly deal with here is customer purchase order number, and ordered by, which is a free form field. You can type in anything there. You might want to put in someone's email address or change their phone number. And quite often there might be some internal notes. Internal notes are, only someone who can log into Eclipse and into this order can see notes, or it's just for other employees. Shipping instructions are notes that you can write that will actually print on the pick ticket and the shipping form. Which could be either for the customer or for the warehouse pulling the order in completely free form. Keep in mind, one only you can see, on other employees, the one everyone sees because it prints on the forms. Okay, as you can see here, a couple of fields here are grayed out, and this is more what we're talking about, the authorization keys. I am set up and logged in as a test user account. This test user account does not have the authorization keys and levels to change who wrote the order or who the outside salesperson is, and that's or the inside salesperson. This information would be used for booking commissions normally, or booking the sales. So you may have a different set of grayed out options depending on who you are and what it is your company allows you to do. Payment terms. This is collect on delivery. You may have enough free-form will to be able to change the payment terms. So no, I don't need the cash right now, so net 30 is fine. Very, very rare that you'd change something like that. Tax jurisdictions, also a very rare thing to change. This will change the behavior of what Eclipse thinks the amount of tax that needs to be collected for this order are. You'd almost never change that. Anyway, as I said, the biggest things that you'd probably put in here would be a customer order number. This is for their convenience, so when they get the paperwork home in their office, they know what job to go ahead and book that to. Also, if you go to search this order after it was completed at some time ago, it's easy to locate it by the PO number because it's searchable. Ordered by, this is a normal thing. Quite often electricians will send their apprentices out to the wholesaler to go order, pick up some parts, and you need to record that so that you don't get a call at the end of the month of what the hell is this invoice for? I never ordered this, what the hell? And you can look up on the paperwork or on the screen and go, talk to Fred because he ordered it, and that removes a lot of doubt. One last little thing here before we go back to actually entering parts, sorry about all of this, is the log. Log is your friend. This is a multi-user system. There are, in the course of from the beginning to end, probably lots of eyeballs that will go into this sales order, do something, and back out again. Maybe just look at it. The ability for someone to make a mistake or to change something that fouls up something you were doing and then cause arguments. And I've lost count of the number of times that I have heard from irate employees coming into my office going, your software is shit, you're shit, we hate everything, how come I put this thing in here and it's wrong, you suck. And the log has settled an awful lot of arguments. The log keeps track of who touched what and when. Almost everything in Eclipse has a log. The log cannot be erased or modified. The system keeps track of that. Every time you do something, it records it and you cannot change it. Fingerprints on the order. So in this case, you can see here every time from the time it's created and when, who changed what it was before it was changed, so you can compare the two, and this removes all doubt. And in 20 years of working with Eclipse, I think maybe there's been 4 times that the software actually was at fault. Almost every one of the hundreds and hundreds, and I've lost count of the number of times that someone, your software is shit, it made a mistake, looked at the log and went, nope, didn't. This guy changed this, then why don't you go talk to him? And you know what? In 20 years of those interactions and being yelled at, not once did anyone ever apologize to me. So, human nature. Great. Now, in some of the Eclipse applications, not all of them, you may be able to manually add a comment. You can't ever delete anything out of the log, though. Those cannot be edited. So in this particular case, if I needed to add a comment into the log, this particular sales order entry screen, I can. That's not the case in all of them, though. Anyway, log is your friend, removes all doubt. You will need to use that at some point in your career, I guarantee it. Okay, so moving forward to what the hell this was all about to begin with, which is actually entering parts. And thank God this is the simple order entry. Okay, as we can see here, this is in a kind of out of order way that you put in a quantity and then describe what it is that you're wanting to order. This is done on purpose because people at the counter usually start off with, hey, I need 10 something something, right? So it's formatted that type of way. In this case, I'm going to order one of, and I have a test product, and I have them indexed under zprod, so I can see here. All right, so this is the drop-down search. Obviously, the more you type in the product description, the shorter the list is going to be of the potential things to select from. Keeping in mind there are some quirks that if in the description there are dashes, these are considered a bridge. So if I went to type in zprod space and 1, it probably wouldn't find it because it sees those as 2 different words and it's looking for 2 words. If I type in zprod-1 or zprod1, it'll match because these are bridged. So in this case, the full descriptive name here, well, for the most part, at least the first word, is zprod1s. And if I typed in that specifically, either with the dashes or just all as one word, it would get us down to just this one specific product. So you'll have to play with searching before you get comfortable with it. It's really dead simple though, but you really can get confused as to whether it should be a space like that, and then we get nah, doesn't exist, or a, and there's our product. It will make more sense as you go along. Anyway, so going back to this. Now you'll also see on my system primary catalog and PDW catalog index. Now in this case, this is the system allows you to search. The primary is the primary catalog. In some cases, older parts may be moved off to the catalog. It's a secondary system, a part that is hardly ever sold anymore, but is still kept in for reference purposes just in case, and you can call it back up and put it on the order. PDW is an additional product from Epicor. It's called the Product Data Warehouse, and this allows you to dump in description and pricing information on 3 million plus products that are made by various manufacturers. And if it's a product you've never sold before and there's no record for, quite often, if it's in the Product Data Warehouse catalog, it'll show up on the selection list. You can select it, and it will be created as a non-stock product in your primary index. And now you can complete the order and have your purchasing agent order it. So it's a very, very convenient tool to have. Not all of you will have this, but all of you will have the primary and the catalog. But normally everything's just in primary, or blah 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 blah. Sorry, this is taking so long. Anyway, we're going to take this product here. As we can see here from this list, it gives us the short list of everything that's zprod, obviously. The branch we're currently in, which is branch 2, it will show us the stock on hand that's not committed to any other orders at the moment and therefore is sellable, whether it is a stock product or a non-stock product normally. Hopefully you don't have too many things that you have a quantity of more than 0 that are a non-stock product, because that would mean something wrong happened. And additionally, if specified, any additional branches that may be part of your company that may also have the product on hand, so that if you don't have it, you could, say in the case of branch 1 here, issue a transfer order and have it brought in so you could fulfill the sales order at a future point. Anyway, that's what all that's about. In this case, we're going to pick this one item that we actually have 6 of. This is just a little nag here. It's just telling me, it checks to see if previous orders of this day or recently have been created with the same item, because I might have left it open and forgot, went to lunch, come back, and then tried to create the order again, and it's trying to prevent me from making a mistake. In this case, I've run this test several times during the day for this video, so it's perfectly okay. We're just going to okay past that. Okay, what we're seeing next in these fields is pricing information. In this case, it's telling us what was used as the base price, what the pricing formula from the matrix is, what the price each is going to be according to the pricing matrix formula, and total quantity times unit price, right? And what our expected margin would be if we sold at that price. If you are a junior salesman, you might have a lot of this locked and you can't change any of it. If you are a senior and trusted salesman, you can tweak the price. Either you can change the GP % and it will do the calculation and adjust the price accordingly, or more than likely you've got a customer going, I can buy this at Lowe's for 3 cents, not 4. You're gouging me. I'm leaving unless you can match that pricing. Oh, okay, fine. And you adjust the price accordingly to a hard dollar value. In that case, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to cut it down to 3 cents. As you can see, the gross profit margin is recalculated and adjusted. Here we see how many are in stock, just in case he asks, I wanted 1. Do you have a couple more on stock? You go, oh yeah, I got 5 more. You want 5 more? That's what that's all about. You'll notice here when we manually change a price, this is considered a pricing override, and it puts an asterisk on here for anyone that's looking at this sales order later. Later on in the process, usually the branch manager or someone will do the batch invoicing, and they will review these to make sure that margins are correct and all that good stuff, and they may look in here and see what the price was. This little asterisk informs them that the system calculated price was overridden by the salesman, which is ordinary, but there might be how come you lowered that price question from your management, so try not to give away the farm. Also keep in mind that user account and authorizations, the Eclipse allows you to set a minimum GP sell price and a maximum GP sell price, and it would not be unusual that perhaps they do not want you to sell it at 0 profit margin, or perhaps maybe it's a bad idea to sell it above 700% profit margin. So keep in mind, if you try and enter in a number that's too low or too high, you might get an eh, and that just happens to do with the authorization that you've been given within your system. So anyway, running right along here, you'd adjust that, and if necessary, you add more items on the next line. I think normally a sales order is usually less than 20 items. Usually 5 or 10 is common. All those, they can go multiple pages. Another thing that might be quite common is adding a comment. If you go to a blank, the next blank line there, and you right click here, you get this wonderful drop down menu of a whole bunch of different options here, which we will cover in other videos. The main one that I want to discuss here right now is comment, because occasionally it comes in handy for either the people pulling the order or the customer or both, who knows what, and you might want to add a little something in here that makes their life a little easier. This is, you have the shipping instructions comment that prints at the top of the form, but a lot of times people just get used to ignoring what's on the top of the form. So this actually prints it into the body of the form where they're more likely to see it. Okay. And so this is, and that note goes into the body there, and it will print out with the forms, both the pick tickets and I believe the shipping ticket. Another thing that you might need to know is if you screw something up, you can rewrite this. You can change the quantity at any time. It will recalculate. You can change the product description at any time. You may get 4 or 5 items in there, and the 4th one down, the guy says, oh, no, I don't need the 4th one out of 5. You can select that, right click on it, and delete the line item while preserving the rest of them. Another function that you might do is to do subtotaling. Don't know anyone in 20 years that's ever done that, but it's a possibility. Anyway, there's a lot of different things to play with here. We will cover at a future point. One last little bit though, as you saw me enter in here on this other one, I mentioned briefly about the PDW. There are going to be a lot of cases, especially for you people who do not have the Product Data Warehouse Companion product, that you may have to create a new non-stock item, something the customer wants, and you can order, but you've never sold it before, and therefore there's not a record for it. If you go to the blank line here and you come down here and do non-stock, this is a short little application window that will pop up that will allow you to create the product on the fly, so that you can edit this order and make arrangements with your purchasing agent to purchase it. We will get into that detail in another video. You see, it's like a cliffhanger or your favorite TV show on Netflix, right? Okay, there are a couple of different ways of going from here. But typically what happens next is we go to the status section. Okay, here in the status here, we're arranging of how it's going to be picked, whether or not the invoice or the shipping form is going to be printed, whether this is going to be handed to the customer, delivered to them at their job site or another location, FedExed, or put on a shelf for will call and giving them a call and go, hey, your thing's here, come pick it up. That's what most of this is for. Since this is a counter order, we're going to do a pickup now. Some of the common options that you would see in here are you get into it and the customer at this point, just as you're about to pull the order, goes, hey, I think the guy across the street has a little cheaper. Why don't you put that on hold? I'm going to go check some pricing over there and I'll get right back to you. And you fuck, all that work for nothing. In that case, you could, rather than print a pick ticket, you can switch it to bid mode and then go back into it later if the customer comes back, or you can call him. There might be a case where it's a direct ship directly from the vendor. If it has to be purchased and it's a non-stock, you see that fairly commonly. The rest of these typically are either a ship when or a call when. When a condition is met, it should be said, almost everything at Eclipse is arranged in queues. You do something, you get it up to a point. As soon as you click save, the transaction goes into a queue. Whoever monitors that queue can pick it up when it's appropriate and do the next thing. Anything call when, as soon as the condition is met, then it will show up in your queue to give the customer a call and find out what he wants to do next. A ship when, I don't think that goes specifically in a queue, but knowing Eclipse it probably does. Ship when is more of an automated process. When that condition is met, typically that means that the pick ticket will automatically be generated in the warehouse. People will pull it and automatically do the thing that the condition was met. Put it on a truck, send it out, put it in will call the customer, whatever that particular condition is. In this case, though, this is a simple sales order, so we're just doing pickup now. All right. The last couple of things we mentioned here was the print, whether we're printing the invoice or ship form right now, which we will get into a little bit later. Typically, this is, if this were a credit customer, we maybe would go ahead and print the shipper form for them to take out with them, while we're also printing the picking ticket for the warehouseman to go pick the order. But, depends on the situation. Ship via. Ship via, once again, FedEx, R Truck, UPS, Carrier Pigeon, Goat, whatever. Typically, for a counter order, the common ones are going to be pickup and will call. Will call, put it on the shelf, call them up and go, hey, pulled your order, come get it. Okay, at this point, detail scheduling, this will be another video. This is when you have multiple products normally, or you're wanting to split up a batch. Say you had a quantity 10 and he wants 5 of them now and send the other 5 to him next week to his job site. Detail scheduling would be the tool that you do that with. Anyway, at this point, we want to go ahead and pull the order. Guys still there? We have not at this point taken the payment, so the transaction is not completed yet. We're just in the picking stage. There are several ways of closing this order. Everything in Eclipse has function keys assigned to it, or control keys to be able to move around fast once you learn the trick. Or there are, in this case, the graphical user interface, a couple of different ways of moving around. So we could either exit this order to trigger the pick ticket to be printed by either selecting exit, hitting F12, or clicking the X over here. As soon as I do this, you will see a little window pop up here that says it's processing the forms. That means it's generating the pick ticket to print out to your warehouse printer. And there we are, processing documents. Very good. At this point, the pick ticket would spool out of the printer, and we've got super fast warehouse guys, so they've snatched it up and already picked it up and already run it all the way up front and handed it to the salesman, who's now handing it to the customer, and hopefully the customer is reaching for his wallet. So at this point, we want to go ahead and take the payment and complete this transaction. There are, of course, in Eclipse, like everything else in life, there are a number of ways of doing this. So, the hardest way, we go to sales order entry and we go ahead and get back into this customer and see if we can find the thing. Now, as I said before, now we have 3 sections that show up. I'm not wanting to do a new order. I'm wanting to search an existing order and get the payment on that. I can either do a search, And I can get very, very granular in the type of searching that I can do for something. In this case, I'm just going to leave all the parameters blank. And I can see that hopefully what I'm looking for is towards the top. In this case, it is not. Okay. Next option would be selecting AR items. Accounts receivable items are theoretically recently open. There's still a payment pending. So more than likely that's ours. As you can see and mentioned before, we could also put in the PO number that we specified and get to it as well if we remember it. So I'd say do 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe it would show up. Too ambiguous. Okay. All right, so we're going to do that one and select that. Once we're in the order and in edit mode, now we can go ahead and take the payment by clicking on totals here. All right, this more robust total screen allows us to do some complex thing. If we needed to add freight and handling charges, tweak the sales tax in some way, we can also select the type of payment. Is he going to pay us cash, check, or credit card? There's a slightly different process, for each of them depending on your company. If there's a discount that's being calculated in there, if there's a credit that's being applied, a lot of that would be done in here. In this case, we would do dead simple. We just put in the amount due here and cash because we're accepting cash, putting in the cash box with a copy of the order, and we would be done. But there are other routes, and as I said, this is the long-winded version, so we're not going to complete this here. So let me go ahead and close this out again. All right, so the people at Epicor Eclipse were clever little cusses, and they realized that if you have to, go do that search every damn time, it can get a little tedious. Hey, can't we speed that up a little bit? And so they came up with this application here called the close counter order. Okay, this will be keyed to you and the orders that you've done over the course of time. So your orders will show up here on the list as most prominent, ordered by date. And there's a bunch of neat things that you can do here, but mainly we're wanting to do take the payment and complete the order is the thing. Now this window is kind of odd in that almost everywhere else in Eclipse, everything is a single click or just go into. This will not allow you to change these things and take the payment unless you click on it twice. They like to punk you. So even though these numbers change and it looks like it's relevant, you'll see everything's grayed and locked out and you can't do shit. So go ahead and click on this twice and you'll see, okay, these are unlocked, and now I can complete the process. All right, in this case we're wanting to take a cash payment. We enter the cash amount down here, 0.03. Now if you have signature capture pads, you'll probably see a slightly different option in here to finalize the order, where you can initialize the pad to accept the signature and get that. Since this system does not have signature pads, it's got a bypass here, so we're just going to put in my initials as the signed by, and if we click here we complete the order. So as you can see, the payment has been taken in cash, the amount due is 0, and we can go ahead and complete the order. All right. Now our final options here is whether we want to print the invoice or ship ticket, depending on the parameters of the customer that we're dealing with. Ship ticket usually is going to be the what was ordered and the quantity, where an invoice would actually show the pricing of the items and these different conditions. As you can see, if you have the Eclipse outbound email product, and I can't imagine anyone this day and age doesn't, you would see that you have an option to get the customer's email address and email a PDF copy of this instead. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and complete the order without printing the shipping ticket. And there we are, and immediately drops off of the close counter order. And that, for the most part, completes our simple process. And wow, that took a lot longer than I expected. When does it not? Anyway, as you can see, there were thousands of other variations and options that we didn't cover in this one, and we will cover in future videos. This is just a taste to get you started. Thank you for your time and attention, and have a wonderful day.